Welcome to the Shero Podcast, where women don't just rise, we ignite. This is your spark, your fuel, your fire to keep pushing, keep fighting, and never back down. Here, we break limits, crush doubt, and turn life lessons into pure power. You are the force at the center of your family, the strength behind every storm, and the Shero riding her own destiny. So buckle up, because this is where courage gets loud, resilience gets real, and unstoppable women set the world on fire.
The Shero Podcast has been brought to you in part by...
Are you thinking about selling your home? Before you make a single move, grab a copy of The Seller's Gambit, co-authored by my business partner, Leah Bolia, and my coach, Krista Mayshore, and myself. This book's practical. It's a no-fluff playbook for winning in today's market. We break down the strategies that top agents use, the mistakes that most sellers don't even realize they're making, and the smart moves that put more money in your pocket. So if you want clarity, confidence, and a proven plan, The Seller's Gambit is your first step to a stress-free, profitable sale. Make the winning move. Start with the book.
Strength isn't silent. It speaks. Sheroes speak here. This is the Shero Podcast.
Okay. We are live on the Shero Podcast. So happy to have you, BJ, on the show. We are doing this to inspire and motivate women and share so many stories that some of us probably forgot about. And we need to remind all young, middle-aged women of all ages, and not just women, even men, children, and everything else. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. I want us to really connect with our audience. And to me, you're an amazing woman. You have so much to share as a mother, as a sister, as a wife. Many of us are heroes. We are heroes to our children. We're heroes to our family members. And women are so strong. And I want to continue to inspire women who are struggling. And we've been there. We've done that.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
That t-shirt, somebody used to say, I got that t-shirt. And, first, I want to talk about your degree. Your degree in horticulture.
Right.
Is one very interesting. I have a degree in aviation operations and management. So having a degree in horticulture alone just fascinates me. And, tell us, where did this journey begin? Because you love to say you're Southern born. And I love that. Go Southern girl. And you also hold the title of the first female game warden in South Carolina.
That's correct.
Let's stop there. Let's talk about your Southern charm, your Southern queen, and South Carolina's first game warden we have on the line with us today on the Shero Podcast.
Well, my journey began, I was in school. I went to the College of Charleston, then I transferred to Trident Tech to get into the horticulture program. And after 2 years in that program, I thought, I need to be doing something bigger than this. Just going to school is not good enough. And I didn't know that horticulture would be a moneymaker for me at some point. But, you kind of back into things that you really like. And I love yard work. Doesn't show in my yard now, but it's wintertime, So they never ever put up articles that they were having, that you could apply for game warden jobs. There were only 250 of us, I think, when I got hired. And when they put that out, I started taking the test, and I graduated to about 4 times taking it, because every time you would take it, your name would get put back in front of the board in Columbia. So I kept taking the test and kept being in front of their faces. So they finally said, let's talk to this woman, see if she really wants to do it. And of course, they gave me a barrage of things. What would you do if somebody cut a deer's throat in front of you? I said, well, you hang it up so it can drain. And they were like, oh, good answer. So I all the myths about women. I hunt, I fish. I haven't hunted in a while, but I fished quite a bit, and I hunted quite a bit. And that was probably one of the reasons why we're so interested in law enforcement. In the wildlife department, everybody that you come across is armed. They all have guns. So, you have to have a certain degree of diplomacy and not be a hothead and somebody who takes on the world every time they see something going wrong. So that's kind of how I got started.
And how about your parents? Tell us a little bit about your parents, your brothers and sisters growing up. I know a lot of people talk about, well, when I grew up and I was in high school, we used to carry guns on the back of our truck and shotguns. And, we are a Second Amendment state. We are guns in South Carolina. We believe in freedom. And at a time, people need to realize that, you need a gun, to shoot a rattlesnake or to shoot a bear, or you need a gun to protect yourself out in the wilderness. Talk about that and when you grew up, how things were different.
Well, when I grew up, I can't say all the guys had racks of guns in their trucks, but because, I grew up in the city, but, we nobody was afraid of carrying their shotgun I never carried a pistol till I got to be in my 20s, and then I carried a pistol all the time. But yeah, it was different, but we were not afraid of, the neighbor like we are now. We've lived in some strange times. And so carrying a pistol now, we have our Second Amendment right, and by golly, we're going to do it.
Exactly. So who were the early influences in your life? If you were to talk about, I always ask people this question,
okay.
If you were to say, this is what shaped me, I believe that being raised without a dad has shaped me. Not having a father and being raised by a single mom, always working, you're on your own. And I believe that shaped me who I am today. So talk to us a little bit about those early influences in your life that you feel this is why I am who I am today.
Well, I don't know that I've ever shared this with you. My mother died when I was 14. She had Hodgkin's disease. So back then there was no cure for it. There is now. But she died when I was 14, and my dad only made it 3 more years. So I had nobody to come bail me out. I mean, I have a sister who lives a ways away from me, and that's it. So I had nobody to bail me out. So I just put my nose to the grindstone and said, by golly, I got to make it, and I'm going to make it. I'm going to do well with it. And I just went after it. But I've always been driven, even as a kid. I mean, I'm sure I drove my parents up the wall with my stubbornness and headstrongness. But, I would say that's what shaped me. That's what made me feel like, by golly, if I can make it here, I can make it anywhere.
Right. Wow. I did not know that. Okay. That is a significant emotional event at a young age. And yeah, that definitely shapes us today.
Yeah. Somebody would probably call it trauma. I don't call it trauma because I'm kind of a pragmatist. It just happened and I'm going to make the best of it,
Well, I also believe that is a huge, a challenge that built your resiliency. And like I say, every woman faces hurdles, personal, professional, and what builds us.
Yeah.
So how did you from there? Gosh, were you the oldest of your sisters and brothers?
No, my sister is 9 years older than me. Oh. So she carried me on her hip for a while, because I was the little kid, So I was really an only child in that age group. Everybody else was big. And she and I did a lot of stuff together till she got married and moved away and all that good stuff. But, yeah, I had an interesting childhood. I was a bit of a pushy little broad, I was a boss.
Now, overcoming all these challenges, there's always times where you felt like you were going to give up. What is it that pulled you through that young, teenager as BJ?
I suppose sheer will. I've always been somebody who said, okay, if they can do that, I can do that. And I always watched Jim Rohn and, what's his name? a lot of the gurus, Tony Robbins and all that growing up. And so I've always had that mindset that if they can do it, by golly, I can do it. And so people have helped me along the way. Don't get me wrong. I'm a turtle on a fence post like everybody else. But I would say when I met my husband, who's now passed, because of the encouragement, the cheerleading, the you can do anything you want to do, all those things, I would say that has really catapulted me to a different level. Now, I was already a game warden when I met him. He used to like to tell people that he got a ticket, but he got a date.
All right. So how did you meet him?
He was hunting doves on a dove field on Edisto Island. And I was going from hunter to hunter, checking licenses and the number of birds they had. He had too many. So I wrote him a ticket, and the rest is history. I actually drove him to court.
Oh, all right, good.
I met him on, he was at the base then, at the naval base, and he said, I really don't know how to get there. I said, I tell you what, you park your car and you can ride in the patrol car. And I took him to court. The judge dismissed the case because he went in uniform.
Now, another thing that, some of us are married once, twice, three times. And those are challenges. I feel women, some of them, feel when they get divorced, they were a failure as a wife, a failure, in that relationship, and then they move on. It's okay. Some people stay in marriages that they are abusive and they should have left. And all of these are the Shero stories of, okay, how do you get away from an abusive relationship? And do you want to?
I'll share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I want you to share that because, first of all, some people don't like to talk about it, right? They feel embarrassed. They don't want to let anybody know they're being abused or in fear. So it's a very personal thing. But to get out of it is the Shero story.
Yes. And when I got married, must have been about 24 when I got married. And of course, it was kind of the thing to do. All the red flags were there before, but you're young and you do dumb stuff, and you think, well, this is the one, and it really wasn't the one. And so I married him. He was very abusive, physically and verbally. And after about, I'd say 4 years of marriage, I said, that's it. And I went to see a lawyer. And of course, I had to hide from him because he would chase me. He was very aggressive. I mean, he chased me in the wildlife car. He could care less. So I would run from him, and then I made my mind up I was not going to run anymore. And I went to the wildlife department. I asked for a transfer. They were going to move me to Myrtle Beach. And then I said, I'm not going to run. I am not going to run. And I made my mind up. Every time he would chase me, I would document it. I would show it to the judge next time I went. And they eventually ended up locking him up. He didn't stay locked up very long, but he finally got the word and left me alone. But he threatened me for years. He told me, he said, one day I'll wrap a crowbar around your neck. He said, it might be 20 years, but one day I'll do it. And now he's passed away now. I think he was murdered. Another story. I don't even know about that story. I just heard bits and pieces of it. But so now I don't worry. But the point is, where there's a will, there's a way. But you can't ask people to help you and then not take action. A lot of people will do that. They'll go, oh, help me. Let me stay with you. I'm afraid he's going to hurt me. And then they go back to them. And I never did that. Once I left, I was gone.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Wow. And then, I'm sure after that, you probably didn't want to be in any type of relationship.
No, but once you meet somebody who's not only very nice to you, is encouraging and smart, and I just married the wrong person the first time, that's all. So when my husband came along, it was like, God, what a breath of fresh air.
Right.
So.
And then the children come along. Let's talk about the family, because we have so many young women today that are overwhelmed, right? With children, with work, with school. So many families today, you have two parents that have to work just to make ends meet. But
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about the family life, because this is a really big, also important part of women. And how do we manage? How do we balance? How do we, we're trying to be super women, and many of us are. And those who can't be, it's okay. This is where you ask for help and you get that help. Let's talk about your children and your story.
Okay. Well, I really I had the best of both worlds. My husband retired as the CO of the naval station before we had kids. So when he retired, he's the one that had to go to the private schools and take the tampons when they called, because I was the one that working, because I started my business, Greenery Gallery. And so I had the best of both worlds. He kept the house, he did the cooking, he did all those things, but he was a motivational speaker after he got out of the military. So we had a pretty cool life. My girls got to travel and see a lot of the world and go all kinds of places. And then when they got in school, of course, we had to settle down, and he went by himself for a while until he got out of the business.
And tell us about the business, about the
motivational business, or
no, your
my plant business.
Yeah, the plants.
Oh yeah. Well, the plant business, it's called Greenery Gallery, and I've sold it to a big company, and they have since sold it to the largest company in the world. But it was interior design and maintenance. So I had like 15 technicians in Charleston that would go around and go to different hotels and hospitals and things and maintain the plants. And then we rotated them out as need be. If something didn't do well, we would put another plant in its place. And then we also operated in Atlanta. So it was a pretty good business. It kept me busy, probably a little too busy at times, but I enjoyed it. And so, of course, I built a powerhouse. So when I got ready to sell it, it was in demand to buy.
Right. So what advice do you have for women who feel stretched thin or overwhelmed when they have the family and the business and so much going on in their lives? I mean, you've been there.
Read my favorite book, Who, Not How. You never want to do all the work yourself. If you've ever read the book, The E-Myth Revisited, the baker that owns the little bakery does all the work by themselves. They don't get help. You can't do that. If you do that, you're going to stay in that mode, and you'll never grow your business to where I had to delegate. And when I found people that I could delegate things to, and they were good at it, I didn't have to worry about them anymore. I only had to check on them. So, but who, not how. There are things, I don't want to be a computer programmer. If I need work on my computer, I'm going to hire somebody to do it. And, it's the only way to free your time up. I feel like I'm worth $1,000 an hour. Why would I do something that I could pay somebody $200 to do?
Exactly right. And I love that story about the baker and your garden business, because bakers work so hard, as well as the garden. That is hard work.
Yeah.
You're getting your hands dirty. It is so much work. And at the end of the day, it's beautiful. The environment is beautiful. Right?
Well, can you imagine if I had not had technicians that went around and did it, and I did it all myself? I'd have worn myself to death. But as a result, I provided good jobs. In fact, one of the technicians, I had the business for 27 years. She just retired from the company. So I had it for a long time. But the point was, it provided jobs. People were good at what they did. And there's still one that still works at the same company that, in fact, I have a house listed with one of the guys that works with the company that I used to own. It's kind of cool.
Very good. Now let's talk about women supporting women, and how, who are the women out there that lifted you up along the way? And
well, it is interesting. My mother-in-law, who was not a business person, but she was an encourager. She knew, I remember her telling me when Jim and I first got together, I see more in you than you'll ever see in yourself. And she always encouraged me and lifted me up. And then I had a broker at another brokerage firm that I worked for that said kind of the same thing to me. She said, do you have any idea what you're capable of? And I said, no, tell me. And she said, she said, anything. She said, I've watched you. You can do anything you want to do. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I can. And then of course my husband was very encouraging, and, we flipped houses the entire time we were married. We started flipping houses before we got together as a team. And, so it was always, I was always lifted up. That was the good thing.
And tell us how this sisterhood in business, what does this mean to you? As we form the Powerful Women in Business, a Goose Creek chapter, women supporting women is really important. And me having been in a career with men all my life, I am really understanding this right now, and that's why I'm really excited about forming this chapter and seeing the women. So many women have businesses. It's truly unbelievable.
It is.
And the women are the leaders, and we see the men who support them. So their husbands support them, and it's great. So in the ABWA, we have men in the organization as well. So when we talk about the American Women Business Association, it's not just for women. So I want to just talk about that, because just like you said, you and your husband were flipping houses before you even were together. So you had a joint interest in that, and then that entrepreneurial spirit. And I'm sure you both love to stay super busy, because anyone that flips houses, you guys are ADD. You love fixed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's and the interesting thing about, God made man, then God made woman. We make a great combination. So a lot of times you'll find I won't splinter off too much with just women groups, because I think a man brings something to the table that a woman needs, or vice versa. So it's a good thing to have men in the organization. And I'll tell you something else too, that men learned, I think, when women, and a lot of women still don't know, we're not taught how to do money. We are not taught how to do money unless we take a course in it. We're not raised to do anything other than balance a home budget. And that's a mistake. That's a very big mistake. We need to learn how to leverage money. We need to learn where to borrow money from when you want to fund your project that you want to do. And I learned a lot of that with flipping houses.
Excellent story. Yeah, it's so true. We're going to have so many other guests that are going to be sharing amazing stories of real life challenges that happened to them. And now you tell us about this book. I read your book. I love it. I think it's a great little guide on how to purchase a home and take every step, because buying a home is one of the pretty big, significant emotional event for anyone, whether you're 20 years old or 30 years old or 40 years old, because I know people that have rented their whole lives. So tell us about your book, where we can buy it, and a little structure about your book.
Okay. Well, it's called The Seller's Gambit. You can see it, but it's going to be backwards to you. And my business partner and I, her name is Leah, we put this book together along with our coach. Our coach is Krista Mayshore. She's in California. She is probably one of the instrumental ones to pull us out of our shell and also make us realize that you don't ever have to settle for crumbs. You don't ever have to settle for crumbs. But in the book, it teaches you step by step what to expect in the selling process, and also to keep people on even keel. Because it is very emotional to sell, even if you're not moving from your childhood home. Just say you're selling a house you lived in for 3 years. It's still an emotional move. Everything's emotional. And having the book to kind of guide you along and keep you on track is our way of contributing back. And we charge nothing for the book. So I have a box of them. I can give them away.
Okay. All right. Great. So everyone can, I liked it because it was really simple, and there was a checklist there. And being a pilot, I love checklists to check this off. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to do.
Yes.
you do a lot of videos currently about all this, but you also brought up that you have a coach and you do a lot of learning. And I know that's a big part of you. Let's talk about that and how much this coach has inspired you and helped you and grown your business, because people do not want to invest in themselves. People complain over $100 investment. And let's talk about this, because you've got to say, no, look, I want to get better at something and put the money in. And let's talk about how you got more. Your business grew because of the education and mentorship from this. Talk about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even the coaches have coaches. I mean, right now we just have a business coach. At some point, I'll probably have a vocal coach. At some point, I'll probably have a coach for something else in my business that I do. Now, I've been through multiple programs and I have spent a lot of money on coaching, but it has all come back to it makes you a better person. I mean, my coach has got she probably spends $1 million a year on coaching. And I spend a lot of money too. So did Leah. So we invest in ourselves because we know that if we don't, we're going to be mediocre. Mediocre's never going to come out of my mouth. That will not be part of me. So having a coach is the best thing in the world you can do. And spend the money and get a good coach. There are a lot of people that'll tell you, oh, I'll coach you one-on-one for X number of dollars. Well, you want to look for results first from somebody else. You don't want to just take on somebody that's not going to be, that you can just spend your money on and not get much for it. You want somebody that's going to keep you growing. So we've been with our coach now since June of 2021.
Wow. So you've been with your coach for almost 5 years.
Yep. 5 years.
Okay. So
now, we're a major part of her program too. I mean, she has built out all kinds of programs that we are part of. So it's phenomenal.
Okay.
We wouldn't be doing videos if it were not for her.
I see. Okay. So when you look for a coach, look at one that you believe you're going to stick with for many, many, many years. That connection has to be a good one.
Yes, it has to be a good one. And there are a lot of people that will pay $30,000 for a coach and they never do anything the coach says to do. They show up to the meetings and then they never do it. Well, we've done everything she said to do. My next book is the book for buyers. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Excellent.
We do lots of advertising because we no longer are afraid of how we look or sound.
This is the Shero Podcast.
So what do you hope your story inspires in other women, professionally and personally? If you could give young girls a message, what would that be?
I suppose mentally to be tougher than you want to be on the exterior. 'Cause a lot of times I think we walk around with the chip that they're looking at me and they think I'm not good enough or whatever. You can't do that. You have to say, okay, I've got all the goods right here. I've got it all. I've got it all up here and in here, and I am going to use the heck out of it. They're going to know who I am when I leave the room. And I think a lot of people are afraid to be bold, especially women. We tend to shrink back and sit on the back row. I'm a front row sitter. I sit on the front row. I mean, that's just the only way to get what you need. And sometimes that propels you a little bit and does put you on the hot spot. Well, so be it. Make yourself a hot spot.
What's the best career or life advice you've ever received?
I would say make sure you stay in church. I started out, my husband's the one that got me going to church in the first place, but I think church has been a foundation for me. And behind that is, you got to pick a soulmate that is really your soulmate, not somebody that just have a physical appeal or a financial appeal. It's got to be somebody who you really mesh with. And between those two, just God first, the spouse, the kids, and then the career. So if that doesn't come first, probably missing a whole lot in life.
Oh, wow. That's really great. Great advice. Now what's the next thing for you? You say, you have new projects coming up, and dreams that you're working on.
Well, the book, of course, the buyer's book. And of course, that might be very hard. And I'm also working on a personal book, a memoirs type book, because I do have a lot of crazy things in my background that have made me who I am. And I started a fictional book about Edisto Island probably 10 or 12 years ago. And I put it aside. And it was long before we ever heard about the sex trafficking and the, female slaves and children slaves and all that. And it actually has that in it. So I need to tie that all together and get it closed up. Because I have a law enforcement background, and the mystery that goes along with some of that is how I ended up with that book started. And I just need to get moving on it. And I'm going to now. I just made it public, right?
That's right. We're going to have you back on, and we're going to talk about that. And so where can listeners connect with you, and support your work? Like you said, your book, we're going to pass them out. We're going to pass them out to home buyers. All your contact's going to be in there.
Yeah.
Where can they go to get a hold of you?
I have 4 or 5 social media sites that we're on all the time. One is just BJ Rodgers. One is Coast to Coast Properties, which is the name of the company that Leah and I have together. And probably social media is the best way to get in touch with me, or our website, which is coasttocoastproperties.prop.com. But all you have to do is Google my name. It'll come up.
Very good.
Rodgers with a D.
Now, what are some final words of wisdom you want to leave with these women who are listening, who are want to stay strong, resilient, and impactful? And when they're, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, where they want to be, what are some great words? I mean, you've already provided some great stories of wisdom, but what's your final words here to share with them?
Never be stingy with what you've learned. I've paid probably close to $100,000 in coaching, but I'm not stingy with what I've learned. I teach TikTok to other students or to other real estate agents or whoever wants to learn. I teach any kind of social media they want to learn. Now, I can't teach them the real techie stuff because that's not my thing, but I can also encourage young women, get started and look for somebody like me to take you under their wing and to help push you a little bit when you don't want to be pushed, and not in a bad way, in a good way, an encouraging way. But always be willing to share your knowledge.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because there's a lot of, it doesn't matter what age you are, but you have to be a mentor. You have to be an educator, and not everybody is that. Right? Not everybody can be an educator. Not everybody can teach the kindergartners, and sometimes younger women join organizations and they may feel like, oh, well, that group, I don't fit in that group. I want people to what do you call it? Think outside their box. Sometimes it's good for you to be in a place that you're uncomfortable in, because that's when you're going to grow. Yeah. And I am super excited about the Powerful Women in Business local Goose Creek chapter, that we're going to grow, and we're going to be able to do all these good things for learning personally and professionally, and helping people grow their business and networking and doing great things in the community. That's what this is all about. And that's what I want this podcast to do, is to empower women, inspire women, and motivate all business owners all across the country.
Yeah. And when you're willing to share your talents with somebody else, they have to be willing to share that talent that they've learned with somebody else as well. Because you can't keep it close to your vest. If you do, you've done a disservice to other business people. Share it.
And people see that. People figure out who a person is over time. They find out what that person is all about. If they're all about themselves, or they're, truly all about a supporting network, a family that's going to grow together.
Yes, and that's absolutely.
That's exactly what we're building here. So thank you so much for being on the Shero podcast today. Thank you. And have a great week. We'll have you back on.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Strength isn't silent, it speaks. Sheroes speak here. This is the Shero Podcast.
Thank you for joining me on the Shero Podcast. I'm your host, Ingrid Centurion. And remember, every story shared here is a reminder of the strength we all carry. If today's episode moved you, make sure to subscribe on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, or your favorite podcast app. And if your own story is waiting to be heard, step forward. Join me as a guest at SheroPodcast.com. Until we meet again, stand tall, speak boldly, and never forget you are a Shero.